Val, are you still with us?
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Okay, good. Hey, I guess you were muted or something there. Well, thanks for being with us today, Val. We've got a bunch of people on here wanting to obviously know what your experience was, getting involved in our business. So let's kind of let you just tell your story, where you were, what you were doing, and when it was that you went through our training.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I went through the training in 2014. I think it was the August. I actually remember it was the August 11th through the 15th one.
Oh man, you were in the hot
And
part of the summer here in Texas, weren't you?
yeah, and I think that was, yeah, it was very hot. But it was the kids were in school, so it was a good time for me to get away and have my own time.
Great.
And then, let's see, so by the time I got back and set everything up, it was probably September. So I signed my first client on in November, actually. And it was
Yeah.
my hairdresser's brother-in-law.
Is
So
that
literally,
right?
like, yeah,
Oh,
everything that I kind of learned in class, your warm market and all of that, I did all of that. And yeah, she gave my information to her brother-in-law, and then I ended up signing his brother in December. So it's just, by referral.
yeah.
And yeah, I did a little bit more marketing. I did the mailers, and because our area is so rural, it's kind of I found it easier to just kind of hang out where the doctors hang out. So I managed to, yeah, one of them actually ended up calling me. When did we sign? I think we signed them on in March. So that was the big group, and they were 25 providers in the big group.
Oh my goodness, 25 all at one
So
time. Wow.
yeah, it was quite the experience. But of
So,
course, you can't turn that down. So yeah,
no, of course not. Well, so Val, let's jump ahead now. This is a year later, basically. How many doctors are you doing the billing for now?
we are at 36.
36.
And that's only because I just really, I mean, when you grow that fast, it's hard to get staff that fast. So I've had to kind of almost not, don't want to say return a phone call for my client, but almost had to say, can you just hang on a little bit so I can, get this set up and I will take you. But it's hard to say no. So yeah, I really haven't after the big group. I really haven't done any marketing at all. All the other ones have all been referrals.
We hear that all the time, Val. Not just when you get a big group. Of course, you've got 25 doctors that are able to refer to you, but even other licensees who've just got one or two or three clients, they say, I didn't do any marketing after that because it just grew organically from those people
Yeah,
referring a new doctor, and then those doctors referring to doctor and so forth. It just grows. It can get out of hand. And like you said,
yeah,
you have to measure that and be ready for your staffing up for that, don't you?
yeah. Well, I had to kind of recruit some family in for that to help me out, because I mean, like I said, it's too hard to kind of bring staff in right away. I didn't expect it that fast. I actually started it out as kind of a second income, and then it just grew. So I ended up getting an office space, and now we've added the second office to it because we have four billers now and an AR girl. So it's growing. It's really exciting. I've learned so much that I didn't even think I was capable of learning.
Now, so you, how many, I mean, are you in it full time still, involved in the business, or how does that work? You have somebody managing for
Well,
you?
yeah, I ended up, my son had just gotten out of college, so I thought it was a good opportunity for him to kind of pay us back. So I pay us back for your college. So
Yeah.
then I recruited him in. So well, he's on payroll now, but he manages the office for me, and he probably knows a little bit more than me now. But I go in probably about 3 days out of the week, but he pretty much takes care of the office and the staff and pretty much
Hey,
everything.
that's why God gave you children. Put them to work.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But
I love to hear that.
yeah, he
Yeah, because as you know,
he picked up really quick.
our business is a family business. As you know, my son is the president of our company, and my daughter's also
Right,
involved. She's one of our business coaches, and so
right.
my wife is the only one that's not involved right now. She started doing the billing herself, for doctors back in 1987, and after a few
Mhm.
years, we started, teaching other people how to do it, and so she's retired now.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah, she deserves
Yeah,
it.
when we initially got the big group, they were all on paper claims, and they were the billing company that they had. Not really sure what happened to them, but they weren't billing for them anymore. So they had claims from 2000. I mean, from February, and then we signed them on in March. So there was this like boxes and boxes of paper claims that we had to manually input.
Wow. Now, I've got so many questions here, Val, that have come up in my head at least, and I do see some coming in here from the listeners. One of them is, what type of practice is this large group?
They're internal medicine.
Internal medicine. That's just hard for me
Yeah.
to wrap my brain around, and I'm sure it is for people who are listening. I mean, here we are in 2016, almost 2017, and people are thinking, you mean there are doctors still filing their insurance claims on paper?
Oh yeah. There still is.
Yeah. Now, so you got
There.
that big, that was a referral from one of the other two doctors that were referrals from, I guess the first one was a referral from your hairdresser.
Yeah.
And then how did the second one come about? Was that from the first doctor?
The second one was his brother. So
Oh,
it was the brother of the first one. So
okay.
and then they had a colleague that they had, talked to us or talked about us to them. And then he ended up calling me. Actually, I think he gave out my cell phone number. So he ended up calling me on my cell phone. It was um I when you don't expect somebody to call you, you just kind of go hello. So it
Right.
wasn't very professional at the time, but yeah, he wanted me to come in right away and look at the practice and see the setup, and it just it just took off. We actually ended up pretty much setting up their practice, like their whole kind of streamline their whole billing and claims through the EHR. And now we set up somebody in their office to train incoming providers because they, sometimes they rotate out, sometimes a couple of providers at a time. So I don't
Yeah.
have to do the training. I kind of just said, okay, well, let me just show one of the girls. That way I can stay home.
Right. Now, Val, let's see, you said you had four billers. So in addition to that, you have your son. Is that five people then that are working the business now?
We have six. We have one AR girl, four billers, one AR girl, and then my son.
Okay. So give us
Yeah.
a feel for volume here. We know there's 36 doctors, but what type of volume of claims are being done each month?
We, the volume is, gosh, it goes from 3,600 to, I think the largest amount I did was 39 something. So they do about 300 claims a day.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a
And
lot.
so
It's a
and so you're charging a percentage then for people who are not familiar with this business. You charge a percentage of the money that's actually brought in for the doctors collected.
right. Whatever you collect from the insurance companies, you whatever percentage you contract with them, and then I just invoice them each month,
Yeah.
and just send them a little reconciliation of everything that came in, and it's
Yeah,
been great since then.
and for people who are listening, again, nationwide, that varies. We don't try to have licensees like Val tell us what they're charging because they might, some one of their future doctors might be listening to this webinar. Who knows? But in general, nationwide, that average will run, 5%, 6, 7, 8% even. Depends on the doctor
Yeah.
and the volume. Yeah.
Y- Well, they're all on different percentages. The big group, I did give a little bit of a break too, so their probably just a 1% lower than the rest of them. But yeah, they're all it's whatever you want to contract.
Yeah. Tim, on one of our listeners says, can you give us a feel for how much volume you do with the 25 provider practice? But in general, you've said it's all overall, right? For all 36 doctors, it's about 300 claims a day?
Yeah, that's all 36 of them.
Okay.
So the other doctors, I think they do on a daily basis. It goes from between 10 to 15, even 20 patients a day.
Okay.
On the single ones.
Yeah. And can you give us a feel for overall dollar volume? What does that mean for 36 doctors overall volume?
It means that, well, each month I mean, obviously it varies on what you bring in. So I invoice, the lowest I've ever invoiced them is 20,000. That was one of our, that's usually in January because people have deductibles in then, so there's not that much insurance coming in and people kind of take their time to pay. So January is a slower month. And I think that's the month that we always, it's never been under 20.
And so that is the invoice that you're sending to the doctors that they pay you 20,000.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming
that's actually just the big group.
Okay.
The group of 25 and then the other one, yeah.
Okay, that was Tim's question, really specifically about the 25. All right, now another question from Gregory is, how are your employees paid? By the claim, by the hour, percentage-wise, or what?
They're by the hour. And actually, two of them are part-time, just because it's convenient for them and it's convenient for me, and they have another job and children, so they kind of flexible hours, and on the system I can tell exactly how much they get done. As far as, since I initially started out billing myself, I know how much they can get done, so it's kind of easy for me to tell if they're working their 4 hours worth.
Right. Now, Val, I'm going to put some slides up and talk about some things here, because I want to get your comments on them, even though you may not be able to see a computer screen right now. I don't know. But
I can see it.
Oh, you're at your computer. Okay. This one is from a newsletter called Hospital CFO, and even though it's talking about hospitals, of course, this also applies in the general practice field as well, doctors, private practice. It says outsourcing of complex claims is a trend set to expand, according to an organization called Black Book Survey. This just came out, I just underlined it there, in December, as you can see. And look at this.
Yeah.
Here's their actual quote here. It says, Black Book projects the market for outsourced revenue cycle management, that's a fancy word for medical billing, right? Will grow at a compound annual growth rate of 26.5% over the next 2 years, with the market reaching a value of 9.7 by 2018. That means we're in a good business.
Probably about right.
I don't know of many industries that can say that in the next 2 years they're going to grow by 26%. That's just unheard of, isn't it?
Yeah, there's just so many changes with healthcare that the doctors are almost afraid to keep their billing in-house, because I think they have this perception that if they outsource, the outsourced company obviously should be more knowledgeable, but they feel a little bit more comfortable with it now.
I think so. I think with all the changes that have come down the pike in the last few years in healthcare, it's just caused doctors to look at it and say, you know what, that's not what I was trained to do. That's not my core competency. I'm going to focus on helping patients. That's where I make my money anyway, and let somebody who's been trained to do this, do it for me.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes they don't want to send their employees out to get extra training. They just, if the biller's been there for a while, it's the basics probably that she knows, because you get kind of familiar with each practice and the codes and everything that are used. So really you don't expand outside that and learn what is more out there.
Right.
So yeah, so when you go in there and you can kind of talk to them about different programs that are going on with, like, as an example with CMS, they always have incentive programs for the providers, and kind of give them a little bit of that information, because I just set myself up on an email with them. So they send me an update on all the incentives. I at least get one once a day. So I just send that out to them and inform them of what's going on, and some of them I had to actually help to start that for them. So yeah, we've become quite the I don't know, lifeblood or lifeline to their practice.
Yeah. Now, Val, I know a little bit about your background, that when you found us, you were actually working at a hospital. Tell us what you actually did for the hospital there.
Well, I worked at a local hospital here, and I was working there I was almost there 20 years when I decided that I don't want to do this anymore. And I actually did accounts receivable for them, so it was money that was coming in. And I didn't really do direct billing, so I knew, like some of the insurance companies that I would kind of hear the other girls talk about, but I didn't have direct actual billing experience. This is everything that I learned through ABS and setup, and then now obviously I have, contact with the providers, and I've become quite familiar with just about any different kind of code now. But yeah, so I didn't really have direct, I just knew how to post the payments when it came in.
Right. So Val, I guess the real point that we should point out there for people, if it hasn't sunk in, folks, is that, even though she had some contact in the medical field, it had nothing to do with what she's doing now for doctors. And Val, could you imagine, I mean, a year ago or a year and a half ago, could you even imagine that you would be where you're at right now, being such a vital part of doctors' practices?
No, I actually, initially, obviously you're scared when you take a leap like that, but I didn't think, when I got done with the class, I wasn't, I guess, as confident feeling, because you have all these questions in your head, and so it's kind of overwhelming a little bit, all the information that's given out.
Yeah.
So now I'm, the big group actually, they invite me to their kids' birthday parties, and it's like a big family.
Yeah, you become really an extension of their staff, and
Yeah.
a trusted advisor to the doctors. I mean, I've had lots of
Right.
people tell me that the doctors have told them basically, had it not been for you coming along, I would have probably had to shut down my practice and go to work for a hospital or something, because their cash
Yeah.
flow is such a mess.
Yep. That's one of the providers actually asked me if he goes in-house billing, would I come and manage it for him? So, I was like, well, if I can do it from home, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I mean, he wants it done in-house. Basically, he doesn't realize that to keep the software up to date and all the computers and so forth, it's cheaper really to outsource. I mean, doctors don't realize that until you do the practice analysis and show them that in writing, right?
right. Yeah. Well, there's so many other costs involved with employees, because you obviously have to have workman's comp insurance for them. They have to have benefits for them. So it actually ends up costing them a lot more than when they're outsourcing.
Yeah, it does. There's a lot of hidden costs they don't realize. Tim is asking, Val, what would you say is the hardest part about getting a large practice on board?
It takes that group, it takes a lot of patience, and I would tell this to anybody, that if you just stay at it, it'll happen. It's fail proof. Like I didn't even expect it to kind of jump the way that it is. The only, I guess, issue I had with them is that it's a big group. They all kind of have to um, talk to each other and make a decision. The board, per se.
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit of time for them to meet and get all of that done while you're kind of anxious to get it going.
Right.
So that's probably the only thing I really had to kind of be patient on. The other ones signed on right away.
Now, Val, did any of your doctors, did you have us do the live demo, like we're doing right now with this go-to meeting, showing them the cloud-based system?
Yeah, I do. I've done that on all of them.
Okay,
I
so kind of explain how that works to people who have no idea what we're talking about here, the demo.
So the EHR company or the technology company that we worked with, they actually do all the talking. I think at a couple of demos, I didn't even attend it. I just was on it at the same time, computer with them. So they just kind of go through how the whole system works, and they can almost customize it to specialty. So that's really nice about it. But and then pretty much straight after there, I just did the practice analysis, and they signed up. So it's very user friendly.
Yeah, so are any of them on the electronic medical records, the EMRX system?
They're all on the EMRX.
Okay, so again, for folks who are maybe the first time they're on here, we have two different uh, parts of the system, I guess you'd call, although it's all integrated. One is the EMRX that I have circled there on the screen, and that's the electronic medical records, which is what the doctors actually use, most of them using an iPad, like you see here, when they're actually for face-to-face with the patient. Then there's the claims system, iClaim, we call it, that you see there on the left, that you'll actually be using to do the claims. And this is all cloud-based, so you can do it from anywhere. Have you ever left?
Yeah.
Have you taken time off and run your business remotely from anywhere, Val?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Where did I went to Cabo actually. I ran it from there because I was a little bit, because it's a new business, so I was a little bit scared of just even going. So I checked up on everything and kind of finished up what wasn't done pretty much every night.
Isn't that cool? You're running your business from Cabo.
Yeah, it was really nice. And I think we have some friends that have a motorhome, and we traveled with them. I think it was like a 3-day trip that I worked the entire time actually and chatted with them while they were, even the drive up, I was working.
Yeah, the technology we have nowadays is just incredible, isn't it? You can literally
Yeah.
run this business from anywhere in the world that has an internet connection, as long as you have a
Yeah.
computer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what about, do you have any feel? I've got a question here from Robbie. She says, do you have any feel for what your rejection rate is on submitted claims?
I would say it's about because, and these are not, most of these are not our errors. It's what the doctor does because they'll forget to, sign it or just, or add what's called a modifier for the code. So it rejects and then we just resubmit it. So I would say, I almost even want to say less than 2%.
I was just out in California at our technology partner there, having a meeting with them, and they told us, they said, Patrick, for years we've told people it's less than 2%. It's down less than 1% nationwide now. And that's hard
Yeah.
for people who have been in this industry to wrap their brains around, because the national averages I have there on the screen from the American Academy of Professional Coders says it averages around 34% for most doctors. Now that's what's
Yeah.
called first pass. In other words, when they submit the claims, 34% of them don't pass. Now, that doesn't mean that they couldn't work on those and correct things and resubmit them, but sometimes they don't even get to that, do they?
Yeah. That's it's well, they call it follow up now, but they don't. If that's kind of the last thing, they'll just kind of push it aside. That okay, we've billed it, and when it's in house, it's kind of more. I don't want to say people are more relaxed, but it's just I've done my job, and then whether the money came in or not, I did it, right?
Yeah,
So
right. The
when
pay,
they're outsourced,
right.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Well, I was starting to say for that employee inside the doctor's office, the pay is the same whether they collect 100% or 50%. So they don't have any
Right,
incentive
right,
really, but that's different for you,
right.
isn't it?
Yeah, so it benefits us to do follow up because obviously we're billing them on a percentage brought in. So I'm actually a real stickler on that because I go through you can actually set things up that didn't pay into kind of a drop box of follow up, I guess. So I just make sure that gets done on a daily basis, actually.
Yeah, I see a couple more questions coming in, but let me remind folks that, we have another 20 minutes or so that we can keep Val on the webinar here. I'm assuming that, Val, that you can stay that long.
Yeah, no.
And so I want
That's
to
fine.
encourage you that this is a live webinar for those of you who are listening right now, today, December the 21st. You must realize that you're listening to somebody who's actually done the due diligence that you should be doing if you're interested in getting into this business. She's been through the
Right.
training workshop here in Dallas, and she's actually with no background in the medical billing field. She's out there building I'm assuming, Val, am I assuming correctly that this is a six-figure revenue for you at this point?
Yeah.
So folks, this is the person you should be asking the questions to. Now, people think that because they engage with me or some of the people here at my office that we're trying to sell them on something. Val, what's the best thing you could say to somebody who's looking into this business as far as, do we do any selling? When you come to the workshop, we're not trying to sell you anything more than what we've told you already, right?
Right. I didn't get any of that. It's like I said when I left there, it's kind of overwhelming because there's so much information about medical billing that you guys give out there that it's you kind of feel like you've been doing it for a little bit, but I learned everything as I went along. Literally, it's just the system is really so user friendly that you just take the information that the doctor's office gives you and just plug it into the computer and send off the claim.
Yeah,
But in the
it's not
training,
brain surgery. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if the trainings change each time. In our training, it was, more about that, and then going out and getting the providers. There was a lot on that. So because I used just about every technique that was taught to me.
Yeah,
And that's why. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we go through about a dozen different ways that you can find clients, and that's probably the biggest hang up that people have is what if I go through this and I don't get a client? Well, that's virtually impossible because if you
Right.
just do some of the things that we teach you, you're going to accidentally stumble across somebody who's got a problem and you've got the answer. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Now, it doesn't show it in this picture I've got on the screen here of the classroom, but basically, as you can see, folks, it holds about 20 people, and we bring in a licensee. By the way, you sat under Cynthia Anderson, didn't you?
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's great. I actually still keep in contact with her
Yeah,
on questions that I have sometimes.
she's been in the business now, I think about 8 years. So we pay her to come down and actually do the training for us because we want people to hear from somebody who's, actually out there doing it. Now, I've got lots of questions to pour you in now, so let me get to some of these, Val, and I will let's see. Let's start with Jeffrey says, how long did it take you to get your first client? He must not have been on here at the very beginning, but you said it was what,
Yeah,
August
it
came
was
to now?
August, yeah, to November, so about 3 months.
Yeah. And folks, that's about typical. 60 to 90 days it's going to take you probably to find your first client. Some licensees have found it, the second week after they come back from training, but and some a little longer than that, of course. But that's probably a good average.
Right.
Um, Rev says, are you using the other services from the portfolio like Choice Pay, Audit Guard, iDocs Now, and so forth? Have you ever offered any of those other services?
Um, I haven't done. I've done the auditing one, which we just added on now to the business. I haven't done Choice Pay, honestly. Um, the system, the EMR system, has kind of a similar where you can it's a payment portal, like an online payment portal. So my providers have just been using that.
Okay, good. Yeah, the patient portal, right. Yeah, folks,
Right.
again, the handout that we're going to give at the end of the webinar here covers all of those ancillary services that we're talking about there. So, Reg, a lot of our licensees focus, they get started on the billing for a doctor, and even though we have these other services, some of them never get to the point where they're offering those to doctors just because well, they're just making good money, just doing the billing and don't
Yeah.
need to. Yeah.
Well, and they're actually, and I felt like you can either just do those because it's actually another selling point that you could use, to yourself if they want to use the patient portal that's already on there, and they're or I what is it, iCode, or I
Yeah,
don't know what
code.
the other one was. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Mhm.
you can kind of bump up the percentage just by the system that's available to them.
Yeah, just by adding a few of those other services in there, and that's part of what we train you to do. Is in the proposal that you take back after doing the practice analysis with the office, you can put some of those other services in there to build value. This is something that your competitors just won't have.
Right. They well, right now is a good time because for auditing, like if you put that system in now, because Medicare is sending out the auditors now, so that everybody's kind of a little on edge on, because they're like sales reps, so they get paid by what they bring back from the providers. So they're gonna find something in there that's not right, or they shouldn't have been billed that way. So that's where the auditing component comes in, and that's a selling point as well. We charge them separately for that part. It's not included in what we give them already.
Yeah, sure. And what she's talking about, folks, is that um, Medicare comes along and pops in and audits the doctor to make sure that they're not overcoding. As all of
Right.
you know, there are codes involved in all of the billing for doctors. There's a code for everything that can be wrong with the human body, and a code for everything that the doctor can do to help the human body get well. And so you use those codes to do the billing. And Val, you didn't have any training in the codes at all before you got
No,
started with us? Yeah.
I didn't. No, nothing. I've learned, a lot of them now, but I didn't have any at all. We just kind of the the information that the practice gives you now requires them to give you that code. So pretty much everything is already there that you need to put in. Maybe here and there have to look up something, but now you can Google just about anything now.
Yeah. Well, and our system actually has all those codes built into it. I'm circling here on the screen that we have the ICD-9 codes. Those are the old codes that they were using. And then, of course, all the ICD-10, the current codes are in there as well. And so you really don't need to know anything about coding because it's all covered in the system itself. And even the doctor, when he's using our EMRX, will be able to select the right codes from it. So guys, it's the most leading edge technology that's out there. You just won't believe how high
Right.
tech is.
And then it's the nice part of it is it's like all customizable to whatever their specialty is. So if they're like our interns, they don't have anything to do with pediatrics or anything like that, pretty much. So we just kind of clean, like take that part of it out for them, so they can easily pick the codes instead of there being so many codes on there.
Yeah.
So the nice part of it is it's customizable to anything, pretty much.
Yeah, and then Val mentioned earlier we have a service called Code Right, and that's where we have certified medical coders that can provide a service for you and for the doctor to help the doctor select and make sure that they're using the optimal codes. I guess that's a good way to put it, Val. Optimal meaning
Right.
they're not overbilling, they're not overcoding, but they're not undercoding either, or leaving money on the table for what they're rightly
Right.
deserving. Yeah.
Right.
All right, bunch of questions here, so I'm going to whip through these real fast, Val. So we'll just do some real quick lightning rounds
Okay.
here. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
ABS average of time frame on getting the first client, and I think I just mentioned that earlier, Jeffrey. It's 60 to 90 days probably for most people. Gregory says, Val, when do you plan to take on more clients, or do you?
Well, yeah, I'm going to, because it's, you can't say no to money. So I'm pretty much ready now, because like I said, I just go in about 3 days out of the week just to kind of check everything and do payroll, and everything else I do from home. So now I'm kind of freer to go out and get more clients, where when I was setting everybody up, I did it myself, like the whole setup. And some practices are easy, and some are if they have everything together, it's easier. If you have to kind of streamline everything for them, it takes a little bit longer. So sorry it takes so long, but yes, I'm ready.
Good. All right, Sujana, I hope I'm saying that right. She wants to know, how do we get the clients is the biggest question for every new person who enters into medical billing field. Are any tips on marketing?
I used actually all the marketing tips that were given to me. I actually even refer to that student manual even now. So the biggest part for me was I wasn't really like a salesperson, so I kind of felt like, well, I can't feel like I'm selling this because I'm not really a good salesperson. But I did the mailers. I did the warm market, where I told everybody about, the business, and that's how I got my first client, is from the hairdresser, because doctors are a little bit comfortable with a referral from another doctor or from another person than they are just kind of picking somebody that's come in, just randomly kind of picking them on it. So that's why I feel the warm market works really well.
Yeah, and speaking of marketing, I put on the screen here pictures of some of the tools that we've developed for licensees, books and flip charts, presentations, flyers, postcards, even trade show booths and so forth. So folks, we've put a lot of time and a lot of money, believe me, way more than $25,000 into developing all of these tools for our licensees. That's why our licensees are so successful at this. Okay, let's see. Gina's just asking, how long does it take to get certified? Gina, we certify you at the end of that week of training. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the end of your learning, but you're certified because you've gone through our training and have us as the network of people behind you. So you're not out there by yourself. So you get your certification at the end of the week. That certificate that we showed you earlier is given to you at the end of the week. And then there's much, much more to learn after that, even on our licensee support side, isn't there, Val?
Yeah. I actually, there's some things that I still refer back to the website, because there's obviously it keeps getting updated on new stuff, and I think I get emails on webinars too from you guys. And I still have these flyers. I actually think I had ended up ordering a second set of them. So I just kind of, even when I go into a hospital, I just kind of randomly leave them places.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different tools out there on that licensee support site. I'm showing that on the screen right now for those of you who are looking at the computer. This is a site that's, again, password protected. I've already logged in here, but this is what Val is referring to. We've got news items. As you can see, there's one posted just, yesterday, one a few days before that, and so forth. We continually put new items on here for our licensees to have access to all kinds of stuff that you would not have were you not a part of ABS. And there's no charge for that. Even 10 years from now, Val can still come to this site and have access to all of the training, the new webinars. She just mentioned that she gets emails about our webinars for licensees. We do those usually on a Friday. So yeah, there's lots more there
Right.
going on.
I've
Tim
done the
says,
ones that were with the doctor, I think.
I'm sorry, what's that, Val?
I said I've attended the ones that were with Dr. Rackner, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dr. Ratner, yeah,
Yeah.
she's the. I had her on last week, by the way, and she gave some tips there on 10 ways to get in front of doctors. I have that on the screen there. Called the New Thriving Medical Practice, and Val said she just read it recently and was impressed with it. So it's a marketing
Yeah,
tool you
there's a
didn't
lot of
have back
information.
then. We just came out with that here a couple of months ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I actually just read it, but I was telling my son that there's a lot of good information in there that, different things that we still didn't know about.
yeah, here's a quote from the book. I'll leave that on the screen here while I get to the next question. Tim says, how long did you research ABS before you decided to become a medical revenue manager?
Um, I I would say I I was a little bit leery on just going off of the internet because you know how it could be. So I did my research on it, and actually, and ABS is the only company that I kind of found a really good foundation, I guess, if you say that, because of the background and the lifetime support. Obviously, it's a little bit more comforting that you're not going to be out there kind of on your own. So I would say maybe uh, about a week.
Oh, so you just, yeah, basically did your due diligence all, squeezed it all into 1 week. You know, Val, you can find this hard to believe, but there's people, might be some on the webinar today that have been looking at this for months, years. I mean, I've had people 2 or 3
Right.
years looking at us, going back and forth, looking at other things, and of course putting their funding together. And then they finally come to the
Right.
training and go, "Wow, if I'd have just known what this was, I would have got in it, a lot quicker."
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like I wouldn't have stayed at the hospital that long at all. I wish I would have done it sooner.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. Now, Jeffrey wants to know, Val, do clients have to be in your geographic area? For example, I live on the West Coast and I get a referral in Texas. You'd be able to bill for anybody, wouldn't
Yeah, anyway, actually one of my providers, her husband is building a practice in North Carolina. So we're pretty much all set up to build that practice as well. So you can do billing from anywhere in the United States. Actually, I think you can even do it in a foreign country probably.
you? Well, you certainly could do it from a foreign country, but of course,
Yeah.
our system just handles, the claims that go through, the American medical system, I would say,
Right. Right.
using our codes and so forth. Yeah.
Right.
Um, I'm going to answer some of these questions, folks, after we let Val go because they have to do with our opportunity and so forth. Um, so I'll get to some of those. I'm looking for questions that were specifically to you, Val. So let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, these are mostly monthly increase in cost. Is it always necessary to have the software? Yeah, I'm sorry. This one's here. Sujana says, is it always necessary to have the software in hand when you approach the doctors? I'm not sure what she means there because we're really not selling the software to the doctors, are we? We're selling them on the
Right.
system that you'll be using to do the billing for them.
Right. Yeah, you just need your marketing material with you and then do the demo, which is what you're Good. Well, I guess she's thinking that you walk in with something, or
I guess so. I'm not really sure about that. Maybe we've given the indication by showing the software pictures that we're selling the doctor software. So people, we're not.
oh yeah.
Yeah, we're just
So it's not
showing
a
you.
big box of stuff you're gonna take in, no.
Right. You might take in that book. We let you use that book as a marketing tool, and it's a great
Right.
giveaway with your business card inside of it. Yeah. Uh, here's a
Yeah.
question. Chasen says, what what was a typical day when you first started out? Did you have to visit your clients' offices every day, and they hand you a stack of paperwork?
Yeah, and luckily for me, they were local, so I would just drive by, pick up their claims, and meanwhile we were setting them up on the EHR. Well, so because I didn't want to keep paper claim billing, that just takes too long. Um, so in the background we were, training them, and actually the technology company does the training. I was just there, meanwhile all this was going on, so I was pretty much learning it myself. I just kind of sounded like I knew it.
You basically fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
And Val, it's nice to be able to say to them, if you don't know the answer to the question, let me get back with my insurance expert or my credentialing
Right.
expert or whoever else you want to back at the office, because you do have us. We're the largest nationwide network of people, and we have all the resources that you need. So you can think of us as a part of your staff. We are.
Right. Yeah, I think I referred back to, I think one of my providers even talked to Casey. I don't know if he's still with you guys. He was in support.
Yeah, in our support department. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I that was my backup,
Right.
because sometimes they want a little bit more information on your background in it, and I just gave them Casey's number, let them know they were calling, and actually I got that client too.
Yeah, well, I've even talked to prospective doctors who want to talk to somebody. Since I'm the chairman of the, nationwide network that's behind all of this, uh, they basically like the fact that the Medical Revenue Management Association of America is behind our licensees and has certified them.
Right.
Jess says,
And
what exactly are warm leads? You mentioned the warm market, I think, earlier.
oh, it's just people like your immediate family, close friends, um, people that that everybody has a doctor, so pretty much. So they're going to talk to a doctor for you, kind of, and so that's actually a warm market, I guess I call her.
Yeah, we actually go through a little exercise in the workshop teaching you what to say to those people, because you're not trying to sell anything to your warm market, the people you know, friends and relatives and so forth. What you're trying to do is to let them know what you do, so that if they do know of a doctor or have a referral in mind, they can pass that on to you. Yeah, that's your warm
Yeah,
market. Uh,
and then
Victor,
again, that comes from doctors feeling comfortable with a referral instead of. So warm market works great.
yeah. Uh, Victor has a couple of questions here. I'm going to skip to this one, Victor. How long did it take you, Val, before your investment was fully earned back? You have a feel for that?
Well, I know. It was when I signed on the big group, so it was in March. I earned it back actually even before I started it, because I set them up. I charged them a fee for the setup, and there was 25 providers, so it was per provider. So I made my money back, right, and plus right there.
There you go, the setup fees. Yeah, because you keep
Yeah.
most of that, don't you? All right. Gregory says, how long did it take to get all 25 doctors set up with the ABS system?
Um, Including their training, I would say, well, because it was such a big group and they were on different schedules, so it probably took us about 2 weeks to get everybody on board. It's not a difficult system at all. So actually, some of the doctors have told me that it's the only user-friendly one that they really liked. So
Yeah, it
the
is
big group was about 2 weeks.
about 2 weeks. Okay. Well, Val, I have a few more questions here I'm going to address, but these all have to do with our opportunity and the software and so forth. So I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. The hour went by fast, didn't it?
You're welcome. Good luck, everybody.
All right. Thanks again. I'll be in contact, Val.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Bye-bye.